All right. My name is Merge, and you are
Ciao.
Chuck. Oh, well, I'm Short Skirt. Are the owner
Yes,
of this business. We're opening on in June.
well, we're gonna soft open Monday, the 18th, but I think that our actual grand opening date's gonna go a little bit farther out in June, because we don't want to compete with some of the festivities going on around here right now.
Okay, so there's some activities that are going on
Mm-hmm.
in this is Eldon, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So how did you get into the gun business?
My brother and I, we've always been, kind of gun fans, and we've always shot and everything. So we just thought it'd be cool to have a store that was kind of close to our heart, and one that we could try to get people stuff at a reasonable price, because that was another thing we've been seeing, just outrageous prices for certain items.
So this store will be competitive. Your prices will be competitive, and
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you feel the community, the reception of the community with you opening the
Oh.
business here?
It's been awesome.
Really?
We generally have our door unlocked, and we have people in and out all day while we're working, trying to get the stuff on the walls. Just
Right.
people coming in and looking around.
So you said that I learned that you moved from Jefferson City, and then you moved here.
Yeah.
And so is that been a plan all along, or you just
No, we were in Jeff City for a few years, and went up to North Dakota and worked in oil fields for the last 3 years. And in that time, we'd all moved down here, so we figured if we're going to reopen, we may as well open down here since it was close to home. We didn't have to drive so far. So.
right? You know that our lives post 9/11 is much different, and we have so many challenges that we face. And my project, Complicated Conversation in the Post 9/11 Era, that's what I'm trying to do, is engage different communities in hard conversations about the changes that happen in our lives. And I think the gun ownership is one of the topic or issues that is very divisive. It is controversial. So I wanna get your perspective on. I know, of course, that you are in the gun business, but what do you say to those people that they believe that gun ownership people should not own guns?
I just think that they're incorrect. It's kind of hard to argue. Well, I don't really argue. I try not to argue anyway, but I try to let people know different points of view without being super antagonistic. The crime rates in, say, Britain, though they don't allow guns, are still very high. Yeah, you name the state or the states and the cities that don't allow gun ownership, or it's very limited or whatever. Those are the worst crime places in the United States. Whereas you have places like, well, here in the kind of the Midwest, or like in Texas and whatever, and the crime rate per 100,000 people is far lower than it is in Chicago for 100,000 people. Yeah.
Yeah. So although we should also understand that there's so many people suffering that were victims of violence. They use guns, and so me as an educator, of course, I have to tell you in the spirit of transparency that I am a gun owner and I have a concealed weapons permit since 2001. But as I go and talk to different members of communities, I understand why they feel the way they do about gun ownership. But I think it's so important. That's why I think it's important that the conversation we have the conversation, that, we don't get used by political agendas. And I think it's good to talk about.
Yeah, the only thing you ever hear in the news is the bad things that happen with guns. Idiots shooting up schools, which would not happen if there was somebody armed in that school. The reason they do it is because they know there's not going to be anybody armed there. They're not going to have any blowback, So and you generally only have those things in places where people aren't armed. You can't like, but there's for every bad shooting, there's 10 good things that happen where a lady wasn't raped because she had a gun. You know, a family was saved because somebody in the house had a gun when they were trying to get robbed. You know.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of people that they want to learn, they want to have guns, but they're so apprehensive, they're scared. What would you tell them?
Get with somebody who is a gun owner, and somebody who's not gonna say you need to shoot the biggest gun in the world your first time. You know, somebody who's gonna take you step by step through the process, and get a gun with them, or rent a gun. Go to a place that rents guns, and go to a range and try it, and just, you know, get a good teacher and work at it.
The first thing that I learned when I was doing this is safety. Safety is so important. It's like ingrained in my brain that, you know, safety, you know, it's that whenever you see a weapon, it is loaded, no matter what, no matter what people tell you.
And see, I love that, because I hate the thought, treat it like it's always loaded. That doesn't work. It's always loaded, no matter what. It's always loaded.
Yeah. So, and you know, you go through, you know, the whole time, and you learn. When you learn the process, like what you said, you never forget it, and I think that's so important. So, but just the people to get started that are, you know, they never had weapons before, they never seen it, and so that's I think one of the hardest thing is the challenge to encourage them to, hey, go to the range, you know, talk to instructors.
You need to protect yourself, because nobody's going to. You know, the police are not there to prevent crime. They're there to clean up the mess, essentially, usually. Don't get me wrong, I love the police and everything, but they can't be there all the time. You know, you need to take it upon yourself. And like the both of us who own this, we're certified firearms instructors. We have land to shoot on, to take people out and teach them. You know, and I believe very firmly in starting small and working your way up to the gun you're most comfortable with. You know? If you can shoot a 45, by all means, go nuts. But
I start with a 22.
Yeah, I was gonna say we'll start you off with a 22.
Yeah.
Just so you get the fundamentals down of shooting, and once you get the fundamentals, then work your way up. You know, if you get anybody who's in the gun world, most of them are pretty much happy as can be to teach you anything they can. Yeah. Because the more people we have, you know, the better our fight is, I guess.
Right. So, what is the message that you have with the politicians that are really trying to take away, you know, our rights?
They're all incorrect. I could do their job far better, and I hope that they all get voted out. Simply for that.
Well, that's why America is like that. We have the voting system, and people just have to stand up and have their voices heard through the election process.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So one thing that I would like to ask you is that the schools, there is the issue of the concealed weapons being, you know, allowed, like educators taking their guns. What do you say about that? What do you think about it?
I think that if you've gone through the training to be able to carry concealed in a state that you're allowed to, you should be able to carry concealed on a school property. Just the simple fact that they're, like I said earlier, you know, people who are going to shoot up a school know that nobody's armed there. You know, if they think that somebody may be armed there, they're probably not going to shoot that school up. You know, it's just a free for all, because nobody's going to be armed. They're not going to have any repercussions until later.
Right.
Same thing for like courts and hospitals and whatnot, which hospitals usually have police and courts do also, but schools generally don't.
No. And there's already a sign, you know, from the front of the campus that there's no guns allowed.
Yeah. And so that's just an invite, as far as I'm concerned, to somebody who's nuts.
So you believe that educators or anybody that should that are right of age and they have the proper training and they have the permit, that they should.
Because there's, I don't want to call it culture, but I've heard it called there. You know, in colleges and in certain areas of life, there's like a rape culture, and I want anybody to be able to protect themselves, you
Right.
know, and mace doesn't work on everybody.
No.